Branching Out, Growing Together, the podcast that brings you inspiring stories from people ready to take bold steps, grow new opportunities, and transform their land or careers into something extraordinary. Hosted by Melanie Jones, each episode features farmers, entrepreneurs, and visionaries sharing their journeys of discovery and growth. Whether you're dreaming of starting your own farm or looking for new ways to cultivate success, you're in the right place. It's time to branch out and grow together.
Today's guest is Roger Smith. I met Roger, president and founder of Prairie Grove Chestnut Growers, at the 2025 Chestnut Growers of America Conference in Lansing, Michigan. We spoke on a panel together, and I was delighted to listen to his perspectives. And it was evident that, like many in the chestnut community, his passion has never been greater for the mission ahead. Roger and team work as a chestnut brokerage company supporting over 100 chestnut growers in 7 states, along with thousands of chestnut-loving customers. He founded the company in 2014 and is based in Columbus Junction, Iowa. When you speak with Roger, his kindness, enthusiasm, and industry knowledge shine through. We'll both be at the Chestnut Growers of America Conference, to be held at the University of Massachusetts, Amherst, Massachusetts, from Friday, July 31st to Monday, August 3rd. You can sign up for updates at unitedchestnuts.com, would you, to connect and collaborate there.
Good morning, Roger. Thank you so much for joining Branching Out, Growing Together this morning.
My pleasure.
Absolutely. Let's just dive right in here. And for people that don't know about your business, Prairie Grove Chestnut Growers, tell us just a little bit about what you do and how you're helping growers around the country.
Well, we got started in 2014. We're in southeast Iowa, and we had several growers that didn't want to market their nuts. We had a meeting. There wasn't any interest in starting a co-op, so I volunteered to be a broker on a trial basis because I really at that time, I didn't understand what I was getting into. And so I took the project on. My 2 daughters and some friends of mine helped me run the organization. We don't really have any restrictions as far as who can sell to me. The only one the 2 restrictions are you've got to have high quality chestnuts or I'm not interested. Yep. And I really don't want to be the broker for last resort. So if you're selling against me and you're either meeting my price or undercutting me, I don't feel like I have an obligation to work with you. And that's been the only 2 restrictions I've had since I've started. And that's worked out really good. The first 2 years I got started to lay the groundwork, I made a lot of mistakes. Number one, I sold to grocery stores and bakeries, and I soon found out that the margins are so low, it really wasn't worth my time. So after the second year, I got out of the grocery business and started going retail. It required more work, but it benefited not only me, but it benefited the growers because I could increase my prices to them as the years went on, which we did. When I first started, we were buying chestnuts for $2 a pound. And last year, my price at the beginning of the year was $4 a pound. Okay. And I'll get into that later in the podcast, what we had to do to adjust to the market conditions. But
that's great. And so you work with growers in like 7 or 8 states, is that right?
I work with growers in 7 states. We now take on 100 we got over 100 growers we work with. I do a lot of my business model is set up to do retail. And so I do a lot of deliveries. And so when I make deliveries on the way back, if there's a grower that wants to meet me, I'll pick their nuts up at no charge and bring them back. And that's how we've been able to stretch our reach in some of the growers in 7 states. I work with them, or they'll meet me somewhere on my route. So that works for them and it works for me. I was had such a demand for our chestnuts, I needed more chestnuts, and that's the reason I did it.
Okay.
As
Uh,
we'll get into it later on, last year that was the thing that was really challenging. I'm glad I was able to do it, but it presented challenges last year.
Well, it's definitely an industry that is in its infancy in so many ways, and so pioneers are having to figure out things as we, march along. Um, so I was reading this article in the New York Times, which I will put the link in the show notes, but it was talking about a Mississippi rice farmer who, in the article, he's standing on a 30-foot mountain of rice that he can't sell. And the quote is, "What am I supposed to do with 2.2 million pounds of rice?" And it kind of hit me at that point that is a challenge that many specialty crops, newer products, face. So I think it's talking about in the rice system, they didn't really prepare well for growth and infrastructure and all the things that we know what we need to do. And that's kind of where the chestnut industry is right now. And I just wanted to say thank you to you for working to figure things out. But also at Chestnut Growers of America, we have a modernization initiative, exactly this reason, to start to build the foundation for this industry. And my own company, United Chestnuts, we're building learning and development systems to support. So I think I wanted to just get out in the podcast to, especially the newer growers, that there are a lot of people like yourself, Roger, that are working on these kind of things. So for you, does that scare you with the idea of us someday getting to a point where we have 2 million pounds and we're not quite sure what to do with them?
No, I think like any industry, we're going to go through ups and downs. Most of us have been involved in agriculture in one way or another. We understand that prices fluctuate. They're going to do it with chestnuts too. Last year was a unique challenge. It exposed a lot of weaknesses in our infrastructure and how we do business. It made us rethink our models.
Yeah.
When it was all said and done, last year was a good experience. It forced us to rethink how we want to go forward. And for me, I captured a lot of new customers. I had to change my model a little bit because of the reality of the situation. We sold to grocery stores for the first time in 10 years.
Okay.
I'm pretty much a street seller. I'm on the street corner. That's where I sell directly to the consumer. It's time consuming, but I'm a salesman at heart. I enjoy that. That's the favorite part of my business. And we didn't discount last year. It was a challenge. We kept our prices the same to our loyal customers because they were happy with our quality and our service. What happened to us is I ran out of cooler space. And I mean, I really ran out of cooler space. One time I had 30,000 pounds in my office. And so I had to wholesale them. And because I was losing on shrink.
Yeah.
And
I think
so
I think I might have talked to you that day because you were a little flustered with this new challenge, but I encourage you, like, just stick with it. You'll figure it out and the industry will figure it out. So what happened?
Well, what happened was we got rid of all the chestnuts.
Okay.
Thank
Yeah.
God for that.
Yes.
It was a challenge. We picked up a lot of new customers. And one of the things I key in on is when I work with my customers on a retail basis, I ask them for help. And
Mm-hmm.
a lot of them have been with me for a long time. They're willing to share with me. So they gave me phone numbers and places to go. And we found a lot of new customers. Um, this all started back in 2015, I think. I was in Chicago and I had extra chestnuts and I didn't know what to do with them. So I asked my best customer, I said, what grocery store do you use to buy your produce? And she goes, why? And I said, well, I got extra chestnuts. I was going to give them a free bag. She goes, you got extra chestnuts? And I said, yes. She says, well, I'll take them all. I got my friends that want them. And that's how it started in Chicago. I started
Yes.
with one big buyer and about 10 little, buy a bag or two. And now I cover the whole city, north to south, east to west, all 7 ethnic groups. I go up there twice a week. I sell on the street corner. I only got one grocery store I work with up there, and they pay a premium because they buy the largest nuts I have.
Okay.
Other than that, I don't really do much with the grocery stores in that area. Last year I did because I had to, but that's not something. Working with the grocery stores, you give away all your profit and you inherit all the problems.
Yeah,
Because
that's not a good model.
if the customers complain, they bring it back to you. And
Yes.
then you have to take care of the problem. So it's just not a workable solution for me.
Yeah.
Now,
Okay.
maybe for other people that'll work fine, but not in my operation.
Yeah. Let me throw this question in, which is, so you buy the chestnuts from the growers. Do you process them? Are you, doing any kind of heat treatment or sizing, or how does that part of the business work?
Well, we buy, like I said before, we buy chestnuts from people that are high quality chestnuts.
Okay.
And we're starting to see more weevils in our area.
Yeah.
This winter, I'm putting in this spring, I'm putting in a heat treatment system so that we can alleviate a problem with weevils. We can heat treat the chestnuts and then market them.
Yeah. Okay. That's pretty
Then
standard just for newer growers that in many areas, at least where we are, Kentucky, Ohio, et cetera, that just doing that is preventative plus potentially spraying is just to help reduce that issue.
Well, I told the growers at our fall wrap up meeting that if you know you have weevils, you have to spray. If you're not willing to spray, I'm not willing to buy the chestnuts.
Yes.
Because if you don't spray and you just heat treat them, there's still a problem with the quality. And
Yeah.
I don't want to be involved with that. And if they don't care, I don't care.
That's
And
right.
quite frankly, I've only had one grower refuse to do that, and I don't buy his nuts anymore. Everybody understands we're all in this together.
Yes. I recorded a podcast yesterday with Caleb, who owns a drone company for spraying, and we were just talking about how the drone technology is really helping orchards and in all kinds of farming. But I think that's something we'll see going forward as the trees from growers get bigger and bigger. We will probably need to do that.
In our year-end meeting, I broached that subject. I told all the growers they need to use a drone when they spray because you're guaranteed 100% coverage.
Yeah.
Even though it costs a little bit more, it's beneficial in the long run. So I
Mm-hmm.
think we're all on the same page. You've got to embrace the technology that's coming forward. It helps us all in many different ways.
Yeah. So I guess you have this no discount rule, and you stuck with that in 2025 for the most part, did you, or?
Yeah, I want to, before I address that, I want to go back.
Okay,
You asked
sure.
me about how I take chestnuts.
Yes.
We do size chestnuts, and I built a sizing machine about 10 years ago, and we size in 4 different sizes.
Okay.
And what we're finding is the evolution of the industry, where we used to sell a lot of small nuts, that market is kind of drying up, and the customers want the bigger chestnuts.
Mm-hmm.
And so when customers bring them in, we take them in, we evaluate them. I give them a quick look over to make sure they're high quality. We run them through our sizing machine. I bag them and put them in my refrigeration, and then we market them after that. When the growers bring the chestnuts in, I pay them on what they bring in.
Okay.
And then we sort the nuts. Next year, what we're going to do, because we have to, is we're going to discount the small nuts because I just don't have a market for them.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're going to get a small sizing machine that'll sort off the small nuts, and they will be discounted.
Okay.
And then I just wanted to lay the groundwork, what we do for the growers.
Yeah, no, I love that.
And then I counsel the growers if there's mainly the new growers, if there's a problem, I explain what it is and ask them to change how they handle the nuts. Generally, it's they don't refrigerate or they don't harvest the nuts every day.
Okay.
Those are the 2 main, and they don't clean them.
Yeah.
And a lot of it's ignorance because I did the same thing when I first started. I
Yeah.
didn't realize what a high quality chestnut was.
Yeah.
And for the most part, I don't have any. I've only had one grower I've rejected. Didn't want it that didn't want to follow the rules, but
Yeah.
especially the new growers, they're eager to learn and they want to work with me. They want to make this successful for them and me both. So
Yeah.
that's a little background on what I do for the people that bring the chestnuts in. And then your
Okay.
next question was, remind me again what that question
Well,
was.
I want to ask a question here is we've been having discussions at the Chestnut Growers of America about standardization and national standardization sizing um, protocol. How do you feel about that? Because you might size to a certain size and someone else, and then the buyers are like, well, how does your size compare to that guy's? Like, do you see that as something that's going to be beneficial?
Well, sizing is an issue. I
Hmm.
run into it in my operation. I'll give you just an example. Somebody will order a large chestnut or order a medium chestnut, and I don't have any mediums, so I give them the next size at the same price. Well, they order the medium chestnut, and now it's a medium chestnut. And they call me up and they want to know why the size is different. And I explain it to them. I actually told them I did them a favor the first time,
Yeah.
but you set a preference. And so sizing is a conception of the buyer, their expectation on what they're getting. So a uniformity in that would be helpful.
Yeah.
But still,
We'll
there's
see.
challenges.
Yeah, I think we'll see the industry moving that way. I think we have to if we follow some of the other industries that have put these things in place. Okay, so in a year where there's shortages, buyers take anything. So this is a good segue. Um, what are the reasons that you say no? Like we're not gonna sell these to you for this price or whatever. Like do you what happens when there's too many nuts?
Well, certainly last year was a challenge. And I'm not a guy that likes to discount. I've done that. It hurts you in multiple ways. And I refrain from doing that for the most part. We wholesaled, like I talked about earlier, to the grocery stores, and I met their price. But I did talk to them, and I said, "This is not something I want to do next year."
Yeah.
Generally, what happens if I get a new customer, they're buying nuts from me versus buying imports.
Yeah.
So they're buying the Italian, the Egyptian, the Chinese imports. And
Okay.
once they experience the local chestnuts, they're not willing to go back. And so they're willing to pay more, just like me and you. If
Yep.
we find value, we're willing to spend more because the quality is there. And so that's kind of how we overcome it. I don't really feel, I had to wholesale because we ran out of cooling space, but that's not something I see happening going forward. If we
Yeah.
run into this same situation next year, I'm 100% positive I could sell every chestnut and more because I
Okay.
now I know a wider reach of my market capability. I just didn't
So
know it all at the beginning last year.
yeah, talk to me just a little bit about the education part of the growers that are new that keep their nuts on the porch and how important refrigeration is and how you're overcoming that.
Well, I send out a newsletter and I outline my guidelines, but like a lot of people, they don't really read it. They don't fully get it. And
Hmm.
so I have to counsel them. A porch nut, as you refer to, is a bucket of nuts that sits on the porch. It may be out of the sun. It may not be out of the sun. Uh, they lose their color. And even worse than nuts in a bucket is nuts that lay on the ground for 2 days.
Yes.
When people, I evaluate hundreds of thousands of chestnuts over the last 10 years. I can take a quick look and I can tell you how you're running your operation. Uh,
Okay.
Nuts that lay on the ground are discolored. They have grass in them. They have animal bites in them. I mean, they're
Oh,
real easy to spot.
oh yeah. Yeah.
So
So you
you
have to,
want to refrigerate your chestnuts for two reasons. Number one, for the sellability of them. And number two, if you harvest nuts every day and refrigerate them, you're going to lessen the shrink. So you're going to have more weight to sell. It
yeah.
benefits you and me.
Yeah, absolutely. Kind of an add-on to that is just your personal opinion of if we're starting to see more and more nuts, are we planting too more trees, or do we need to beef up our sales and marketing systems as an industry?
Well, I get a lot of calls from new growers every month. I counsel a lot of people. I tell them all the same thing. We're in the beginning stages of something fantastic here. It looks like
Absolutely.
last year it was overwhelming, but that was a blimp. If you're dedicated and you have the passion to do this, and you're a person that will stick to the details, and you have the persistence to go out there and manage your orchard like it should be managed, you're going to do fine. The market's going to take care of itself.
Yeah.
We're going to have ups and downs, but the big picture, this is a growth industry. There's a lot of opportunity. The prices may fluctuate a little from year to year, but it's on an uptrend. And
Hmm.
even with what stories we hear about 100,000 trees or whatever, I just don't see that being a major problem.
Yeah.
It will be at one particular year, but the big picture, I just don't see it.
Yes, I agree. And I've been pretty vocal in my time in this industry talking about it. I just gave a talk at the Kentucky Nut and Vegetable, no, Fruit and Vegetable Conference called Beyond the Song, Helping America See Chestnuts Differently, Beyond Chestnuts Roasting on the Open Fire, because that is how so many Americans think of chestnuts. It's a novelty, it's a memory, it's a song. And our mission as an industry is to elevate, way beyond that and copy what, say, the pistachio industry did. And so, yeah, there is this supply and demand conversation, but if we're doing our job on the front end of educating consumers, we'll need every one of those. And not to mention that about 80% of the supply of chestnuts are imported each year. So, I
Yeah.
mean, just imagine we fix that problem.
Well, that's what I see. That's a great observation because that's my growth. I
Hmm.
the people I'm adding are people that are buying foreign chestnuts,
Yep.
and one day down the road, we're going to have to advertise to what I call the legacy Americans that have never experienced it.
Oh,
But
yeah.
I don't think we have to go there yet. But down the road, that's something industry needs to work on to advertise to those people.
Absolutely. And I'm trying to do my little part here. We started the United Chestnuts Test Kitchen because I said if the American family doesn't know how to cook with chestnuts, they're not going to buy them. So let's start that conversation now. But the truth is, there's a lot of ethnic groups that can't get enough, homegrown chestnuts here. Not to mention just the freshness of the product instead of coming over on a ship or whatever. So anyway, so we both have amazing stories, I think, of these ethnic groups. I'm just going to put it out there that will drive quite a ways to get a fresh chestnut. Um, so is that still the backbone of your business, you think, or is it expanding?
Absolutely, we deal if it's seven. I call it seven ethnic groups: the Bosnians, the Serbians, the Greeks, the Italians, the Japanese, the Koreans, the Chinese, and the Albanians, and I
Okay.
probably left out a few, but
Yeah.
that's the core group. And a lot of those people, they have friends that still buy the Chinese imports. The growth market is in the Chinese market.
Yeah.
Number one, they have a history, they have an understanding of what a chestnut is and what it tastes like. Number two, the Chinese tend to have a higher disposable income, so they're willing to pay the prices that we're willing to sell them for. We
Mm-hmm.
don't get a lot of pushback with the Chinese like we do with the Europeans. But
Yeah.
on the other hand, the Europeans don't complain, but the Chinese do. So you got to kind of work the field, so to speak.
Yeah. There's always something.
I was
But
in I was in Atlanta. I sell a lot of chestnuts in Atlanta on the street, and I was selling some. They wanted to meet at a Chinese grocery store, which made me feel really uncomfortable. But I did it anyhow, and they they ordered a few. Thank goodness I brought a lot of chestnuts because they ended up buying about twice as many as what they told me they were going to buy.
Yep.
And those people were buying for. I went inside and looked at the chestnuts in the store. They were selling them for $2 a pound. I bought some and tasted them. They tasted like a potato.
Yeah.
And I now I understand why they're looking for locally grown chestnuts. And
Yeah.
that's just,
No.
I can tell you story after story, the same thing. Once people experience the taste of the United States chestnuts, they're not willing to go back and buy the imports. They only
Yeah.
buy them if they can't find ours.
Absolutely. So I know you had a couple customer stories you wanted to share. Why don't you share that a little bit?
All right. Uh, the, let's see here. I was the first year. This is humorous. This is a story I always tell. The first year, I had somebody call me. They couldn't speak English, but they wanted chestnuts, and they wanted to come down to my place. And so I gave them directions. Well, they called me up and said, "We're here," and I said, "No, you're not here. You're in the neighboring town." And so I gave them directions. They called me back 10 minutes later. They were in another town. They'd gotten lost.
Gosh.
And so I told them, give them directions again. And I said, I'm going to be, when you come over the viaduct, which is a reference to our town, we goes over the railroad tracks. I'm going to be at the bottom. What kind of car do you have? And they told me. So I waited and waited and waited. And this car came over the viaduct. It looked like the one they described. I waved my arms, I honked my horn. They drove on by. So I got in behind them and honked my horn. They finally pulled over. It was two women. And right away I knew it was the wrong car. I said,
Oh,
"Are you the
jeez.
one? Are you the ones looking for chestnuts?" And she says, "No, but you are the nut." And we both laughed. Anyhow, they finally came and they couldn't hardly speak English. And that was my first venture into dealing with ethnic minorities with chestnuts. They love chestnuts. They want their family to come down and pick chestnuts, which I don't. I don't do the you pick.
Yeah.
Uh, they they take pictures. I had a Chinese woman downtown Chicago in Chinatown. I delivered 200 pounds to her. I thought she was going to shake my hand when I come up to the door. She bear hugged me and kissed me on the cheek. She was so glad to see the chestnuts.
Yes.
I have had that happen multiple times. It's just, you can't imagine the love affair these foreign ethnic groups have for the chestnut.
Oh, yeah.
It's a culture, and it's more than the product. It's just something that's part of who they are.
Yeah, I
And
think they seem so grateful. We had a Korean couple. They were on a wedding anniversary trip and they Googled chestnuts near me and they found us, so they came to visit. Walked right into our processing place and got a couple chestnuts, bit right into them and said, "Oh, these are awesome." And then almost they were teary-eyed. They were so grateful. And we don't see that a lot of time with American consumers. So that is a great story. I mean, you've got a reputation as a real hustler, and I think that your grower community should be so grateful for the vision that you have and the hard work that you put in because you see the results.
well, thank you for that.
Yeah,
I work with wonderful people. One of the things that helps me in Chicago is my first year I made contact with a Bosnian gentleman that is he's second to none in a passion for chestnuts. And I mean that truthfully. I hired him as a consultant and he tells me everything that's going on in the city of Chicago. He knows everything about chestnuts. He can
wow.
tell me who's selling chestnuts, what they're charging, who's buying them. And so I use him as a resource to guide me on what to do, especially this past year. And
Yeah.
because I had like 1,000 pounds left, and I didn't know what I was going to do with them. And he goes, Roger, don't throw them away. He says, I'll sell them for you. And so I took them up to him, and he sold them within a week. And
Yeah.
and that was just like 2 weeks ago.
Wow.
So
Okay.
that's just remarkable. The friends I've made in this industry that are willing to help me. It's really an extended family. I can't say it loud and clear enough. I'm
Yes.
glad I'm involved in it because it's one of the most wonderful industries you'd ever want to be associated with.
I think so too. And for any new listeners, you and I met actually at the last Chestnut Growers of America / Northern Nut Growers conference up in Lansing, Michigan. And so just encourage, to get out to those things if you can, and you have the opportunity to meet each other and tell stories, because it is a very friendly, supportive community, I think. And it's people like you that make that happen. So
Well,
we'll wrap up here quickly, but is there any last story or comment that you want to add to the listeners?
well, one of the things, one of your last questions was kind of like the future.
Yes.
And I want to say the key to the future is the young people coming in to the chestnut industry. When I first started, the average age was over 60. Now I'd
Yes.
say it's closer to 45 because we're getting a lot of new growers that are in their 30s, some in their 20s, but mainly the 30s or early 40s. They got 5 acres. They want to know what to do with it. And I counsel them on what we've got going on. And what I'm finding with this new set of growers is they want to do it right. They want to research it. They're not afraid to spend the money. They want to know what they're getting involved in, and they're willing to do the detailed nuances that you have to do on starting and maintaining a tree orchard.
Mm-hmm.
Um, they do a fantastic job. I'll share this one story that happened to me this past year that really personifies what I'm hearing from the new growers. Uh, I had to lower my prices this year for the first time ever. I was paying $4 and I dropped it to 3 because we were wholesaling chestnuts and I was losing on the shrink and I got to stay in business. And it was a real hard decision for me because I'm honest and I'm transparent with the growers, and I didn't want to do something that would harm our relationship, but I had to do it. I prayed about it, and I just
Okay.
felt like it was the right thing to do. Anyhow, I had a grower call me up, and he was upset. He was upset, and I talked with him, and he said he had an opportunity to sell 1,000 pounds of chestnuts for $5 a pound, but he didn't do it because he wanted to make sure he had a market for his chestnuts going forward. And it was such a wonderful
Loyal.
story. I told him what I'd do. I'd give him the higher price for that $1,000 or for that 1,000 pounds, and then it'd be $3 for the rest. He goes, no, I don't want to do that. He said, I'm just thankful we have a market. He said, it was my mistake, and I want you to treat me like the rest of the growers. He says, but I just want you to guarantee me that you'll buy my chestnuts as I go forward. And he's a new grower. He's got a lot of trees, and that personifies the thinking of the new grower. They want a
Yep.
market, and they're not out for the quick buck. We all want to make an income, but there's a right way and a wrong way to go about it. And I think he presents a situation that a lot of young growers, how they see the industry. So I
Mm-hmm.
just wanted to share that story because it meant a lot to me, and it kind of told me a lot about the people I'm dealing with.
That's right. Loyalty, right? And honesty, and to build this industry as we know we can, we're going to need that everyone is kind of working together as much as possible.
We're all doing our part. The
Yeah.
growers are presenting a nice product. I'm doing as much as I can to market it and expand my reach. I didn't really get into this, but um, our market is almost all retail. We
Mm-hmm.
sell about 15% on the internet. I deliver 75%, and about 10% goes out my back door. And
Okay.
so we're almost totally tied to the retail customer. And I'm willing to do that. Matter of fact, people ask me if I'm going to hire any more people, which I need to do. I want to hire somebody that would go on the road and sell these chestnuts.
Mm,
That would more than pay for the person I want to hire, because that's
yeah.
the market. And if I live closer to an area like Houston or New York metro area, I'm sure we could sell thousands of chestnuts just by working the street.
Yeah.
There's a technique to doing that, and I think I've got a handle on how we go about doing that.
Yeah. And I see a day too when we have a marketing co-op for the industry and follow other industries that have expanded with infrastructure. But I mean, it's going to take every lane, you know.
Every lane.
Yeah.
And, we
So,
can't even sell in California, and that's a
right.
big opportunity out
Yeah.
there.
Yeah,
And that's an
absolutely.
area where the CGA honestly ought to be doing something about that to
Yes.
help us
And
out.
I think there are plans to do a lot of things and I'm grateful for the opportunity to serve there too. But anyway, well, gosh, thank you so much for your time and your expertise. And you know, we could probably talk for 4 or 5 hours, but we'll keep it at this for today. And I just appreciate the friendship too.
All right. Well, thank you, Melanie. I
Thank you,
appreciate
Roger.
the opportunity.
Absolutely. Okay, thanks.
Bye.